Hi everyone. Thank you very much for the lovely intro. My name's Scarlett Montanaro, and it's a genuine pleasure to be here today because I'm a graduate of University of the Arts, and a few years ago I had just graduated off of the advertising course, and I just started my career in the industry. And I kind of thought I had my whole career path mapped out in front of me until one day I was sat having coffee with my friend from the course when a homeless man approached our table and he said, "Do you have any spare change?" And with that simple question, he sparked an idea that has since gained enough momentum that he's actually touched the lives of thousands of other homeless people and profoundly changed mine. Because of him, I now run a startup in my spare time. That means I'm never going to look at a homeless person in the same way again. And I've made it my life's mission to make sure that everybody else feels the same way. And I'm going to tell you that story. So, I'll take you back to that coffee shop. Charlotte and I were sat drinking our coffee. We'd maybe spent £6 or £7 on these two coffees, and this human being walks up to our table and reaches out a hand and asks for some help in the form of some pennies from our pocket, and we say no. And as he walks away, we look down at our spectacularly overpriced coffee and back at each other and say, wow, why did we do that? He was a human being in need and we turned him away. Are we terrible people? But the fact of the matter is, no, we're not. We're much the same as most of the population. We looked around and he was approaching all the other tables and everyone else was turning him away. And we realised that that was an interaction that was happening all over the world, with much the same outcome. The homeless person is left feeling isolated and completely without help, and the general public is left feeling really guilty about it. So nobody was winning. And it was in that moment we decided that it was a problem that we really needed to solve, because we'd noticed something around the whole rhetoric of the homelessness issue, which was us versus them. Our trusted institutions, like the Metropolitan Police Force, like our local councils, like charities themselves, are driving a wedge between us and them. This rhetoric says that we have made good life choices, so we've got jobs and a home, but they have made poor choices, so they're on our streets as addicts and criminals. And that's evident in posters like this. Your kindness could kill. Begging, watch your money go to fraud. Give him enough and you'll eventually get him off the streets, but apparently into a morgue. No wonder we don't want to hand over our cash on the street. We don't want someone's blood on our hands. We don't want our money to be causing more harm than good. But that does leave us in a terrible moral dilemma. If we're not going to hand over cash on the street, then how are we going to help these people? So we decided to take to the streets at that point. And we decided to ask homeless people what they really thought was going on. And one guy that we met gave us the insight that kind of started our whole startup. He told us that people don't give me cash on the streets because they think I'll spend it on crack and cider. So, based on this and everything we'd learnt so far, we realised that we needed to come up with a solution, which was a new model for charitable giving. We needed it to be completely transparent, and we needed to provide a tangible benefit. So we came up with the idea for a shop, where you could buy essential items for the homeless, and then we take those items to those most in need. And we called it Crack and Cider. So we launched Crack and Cider with 5 of the most essential items of the best quality that we could find. Sturdy backpacks, jackets, fleeces, hot hat, socks and glove set, and an umbrella. You could go onto the site, decide exactly how you wanted to spend your money, purchase the things in a few simple clicks, and then it was our job to take those items and distribute them around the city using independent shelters and soup kitchens. People now felt safe in the knowledge that their money was being spent on something good, and suddenly the benefit of their donation became completely tangible. So So by giving people an adequate way to help, we were able to distribute 6,000 essential items in our first winter alone. We received an insane amount of global press, which actually meant that within 12 months we were able to establish our presence in the US, and that's our shop in San Francisco. And from that one guy's question, in asking us to spare change, he's actually managed to raise $100,000 in public donation to date. And that's us just working in our evenings and weekends. But I want his momentum to keep going. And I want it to overtake us and become even bigger and better than any of the work that we could do. Because whilst Kraken Cider provides a very real and physical service to the people living on the harsh winter streets, we can all go out there right now and have a huge, huge positive impact on the psychological well-being of the people on our streets. And that is the idea I want to spread today. It might not be new, it might not be innovative, but the best thing about it is every single one of us can create it the second we walk out this door. It's called human connection. So I don't know if any of you are aware, but one of the biggest threats to people living on our streets is actually us, the general public. So in my work, I've been privileged enough to meet some of the most amazing people. And one man, who we'll call Bob for the sake of this, he used to be homeless and he's managed to work his way out of his poverty. And when he was homeless, he told me of a time when he was looking for a place to bed down for the night, and he'd found himself a shop doorway. And as if his life wasn't already bad enough that he's bedding down in a shop doorway, someone from inside the shop comes outside and without warning hoses him down in a bid to shoo him away. He tells me of another time, completely separate to this, when he was asleep on the streets and some drunk people walked past him and set fire to his shoelaces. This is the reality of the people living on our streets that is caused by us. So this us versus them rhetoric is as dangerous as it is dehumanizing. And I'm sure that none of you here in this room are contributing to this sort of behavior, but it's something that each and every one of us can be and should be actively fighting against. And so many people I know and people that are close to me are making these connections already, and just with small acts of kindness. So a friend of mine deliberately cooks too much dinner when he's cooking at home, and he packs it up and he walks it around his streets and gives it out to local people. And one guy said, "Sit down with me, mate, I haven't had a meal with someone in months." And they sat down together and they shared stories. Another person I know walks around with blankets and gloves and hats, and she knows all the stories of all the people around her local area. And when these people tell me of these stories, the best thing about it is they light up with this joy and fulfillment. They are getting as much out of that interaction as the homeless people are. Because if you think about it, we are rushing through life, struggling to kind of make any real lasting or meaningful connections, and we're living our lives in these digital replicas of human interaction, but they have got time to reflect, often offering a whole new perspective on the life that we know. They've had these lives, and they have stories, and they have names, but we're walking past every day as if they're not even there. And it's this shared human connection that will eventually bridge the gap between us and them. Because imagine if we just stopped for a moment and offered a hand or a moment of our time. Imagine the impact that could have on both of our days and over time, both of our lives. And I really truly believe that bridging this gap is what will make the biggest difference in our society. So, I'll leave you with this. We did a short survey about what home meant to people. And we asked people both with and without a home. And the overwhelming response was that home is just a feeling. So our favourite answer. I don't truly feel at home anywhere, though I guess right now it's in the doorway of St Paul's Cathedral where I usually sleep. I can feel at home in unfamiliar places if in the right company. People that make me feel love, peace and acceptance can make anywhere feel like home. So I truly believe that although we may not be able to offer the 7,600 people living on our streets a home, we can make them feel at home. All it takes is a bit of love, peace and acceptance. Thank you.